Okay, I'm going to do a video real quick just pointing out a major flaw and error in the end times speculator community. This is a mantra that most of the speculators have. It's really the main reason that people even believe anything that they say, which is kind of scary for them because this teaching that Chad is going to give everybody again is pretty crucial and central to the urgency of the hour that they always claim is that we're under. And so without this doctrine, they really don't have much urgency at all. They just have kind of like, well, speculation about wars and earthquakes and all that is kind of thin. But this particular doctrine about Israel has been driving the hype since Hal Lindsey created it in 1969, and we're running out of time for them. And so my purpose here is twofold. First of all, please don't be taken in by this hype. It is not biblical. It is not scriptural at all. You are going to be disappointed. Number two, just know that there are answers. There are answers to these difficult biblical portions that are probably not what you've heard before or thought of. And you need to dig and find these answers.
Here's what's very exciting. The parable of the fig tree talks about the coming of the Son of Man. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 32 to 34, it records, "Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled." What generation? What generation is this referring to?
Okay, wrong question, Chad. That's actually not what you should be asking at all. Because I think what you need to first ask is, what are the things when ye shall see all these things? That's what you should be asking first. You can ask which generation second, but no one ever asks about what are the things. So let's read this verse again. Let's read this passage again. And this time let's read it. Try to take your preconceptions out of it and carefully read the words that Jesus actually said. So Jesus says a bunch of things are going to happen that are signs. I think we can all agree with that. There's going to be false Christs. So the moon will not give her light, and this stuff, and the signs, and all that. Okay, now be careful here and read this carefully. Okay. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When the branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is nigh. Where in this verse did Jesus ever say, learn a parable of the fig tree? When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, you know that my coming is nigh. You know that the kingdom is nigh. You know that the end of the age is nigh. Does he say any of those things in this verse? No, he says, when you see fig trees putting forth leaves, you know that summer is near. That's all he said, you guys. do you get what I'm saying? Luke 21. Here it is in Luke. And he spake to them a parable. Behold the fig tree and all the trees. So now all of a sudden, in Luke's version of this, it doesn't really matter what type of tree he's even talking about. Whether Israel is the fig tree or not is irrelevant. It's actually irrelevant because he never says the fig tree and all the trees, when they shoot forth, you know the kingdom is coming. Nope. When they shoot forth, you'll know my coming is near. Nope. When they shoot forth, you will know that the end of the age is near. Nope. The end of the world is near. Nope. None of those things are mentioned whatsoever. A parable here, by the way, is the word, let me just show you, it's real easy. It's a parable, parabole, I guess, in the Greek. And that can mean, a proverb, pithy and instructive saying, can mean all these things. But you know what else it can mean? A metaphor. Just a metaphor, a comparing of one thing with another. An example, this is what Jesus did. He said, he taught doctrines and precepts by using narratives. That's another, but it's also just a metaphor. Jesus was using a metaphor. He said, just like when you see fig trees and other trees blooming, summer is near. So likewise, when you see these things come to pass, that the kingdom of God is near. So let's say it one more time, just so everybody can understand what I'm getting at. Here's the Matthew verse again. Learn a metaphor of the fig tree. When its branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, that summer is near. So likewise, when you see these things, know that the kingdom is near. When you see fig trees blooming, summer is near. When you see these things happening, the kingdom is near. So that's why I said Chad needs to ask, what are these things? Fig trees blooming, Chad? Really? You don't even believe that. You think that the things here are the signs Jesus talked about up here. These things here is not fig trees blooming, Chad. It's the signs that he talked about. You guys go on and on every day about, there's earthquakes and everything Jesus said and birth pains. Oh, no, what's going on? It's happening. All the things are happening. Yeah, when you see all those things happening, the kingdom is here. Just like when you see a tree blooming in the spring, that summer's coming. If you guys don't deal with this issue and stop believing what Hal Lindsey told you in 1969, that it's starting to really get old, you guys are going to have a real problem. And I predict here's what will happen. Either A, they're going to find a way to make a generation be 100 years or 120 years long and thus give themselves more time. B, they'll come up with a new date that's not 1948 anymore. Maybe it's 1967, or they'll cross their fingers and hope to die that a temple is built so they can use that year. And then all of a sudden we'll realize, oh my gosh, a generation is 40 years. All this time we didn't, or number three, which I think is the most likely, is they're going to change the meaning of generation. They're just going to change the meaning of a generation. It's not what it says in the Greek. It's not what it says in plain English. Either one. It's the whole race of Jewish people. The whole race of Israel shall not pass away. That's what Schofield says. That's what people said 100 years ago before all this stuff with Israel happened. We're going to go back to that, I guess. And what's going to be really tragic is people will just go ahead and say, okay, I'll accept that then. And I have millions of hours of YouTube video and billions of pages of writing by these prophecy end time speculators insisting and stamping their feet and doing what Chad does here. 1948 was the beginning of the generation. 1948 was the beginning of the last generation. 1948 was the beginning of the... And all of a sudden we're going to have, actually it wasn't. It wasn't. So, and we're supposed to keep trusting these guys? Guys, be Bereans, okay? Be Bereans like your leader, J.D. Farag, tells you to be. Go check it out for yourselves. Prove me wrong.